Yeah, we're live. Hi, guys.
Means a happy you. So boost your gut health and immunity with Valia's deliciously creamy yogurt, made with billions of probiotics. Valia, get gut happy. Squeeze the day with our new Valia Boost yogurts.
Hi, Diane. Good to see you.
Music gets your business moving. Soundtrack, music streaming for business.
Make your move to Vodafone's new Super Wi-Fi and supercharge your whole home. No matter which room you're in, come face to face with speed and coverage that blow you away. Get the new Vodafone Super Wi-Fi modem and first.
Are you washed in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb?
That guy, I made sure I caught one of these songs. Ha ha ha.
Are your garments spotless? Are they white as snow? Are you washed in the blood
of the Lamb? Hallelujah.
Are you serious? Oh, we are very serious, and we are waiting for Mike from around the world. He's going to join us any moment. I'm telling you, I can't wait for this webinar tomorrow night. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is the best interview I've ever done with Mike from around the world in 13 years. And that's 50 interviews a year with him. It's the best ever. It's the most revealing. Not only with intel, but with his visions. Incredible. Are you serious? Joining us right now from somewhere, some location on this planet, it's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
God bless you, Pastor Paul. Doing well. You sound better.
Oh, man, am I better. Did you see the thing that came out of my mouth there in communion?
I didn't.
Oh,
I did not. But I'm glad it came out.
Oh, trust me.
I'm glad it came out.
You know, I suffered for...
Diane, I bounced back from that dementia scare. It was an infection.
10 days.
I'm back to normal now. I'm not losing track of what I'm saying.
It was a bone. And the bone was piercing my tongue, coming through the jaw and coming through the gum. And no, I thought I had it here really close. I showed it Sunday night, but it's about an inch long, or a little bit more than an inch long. And while I was doing communion Sunday night,
Diane is my favorite Christian singer. I admit that. I like his stuff. It's all old school Brim and Fire songs. I like that.
Or Sunday morning, doing communion, it came out. I didn't, and it came out.
Well, thank God for that.
Oh my God, I'm brand new right now. I feel brand new.
That's awesome.
You know, God is so good. My dentist didn't know what to do. He said he was going to remove it the next morning with the procedure. He said, you don't even need a stitch. And I told him how it happened, and I saw the blood running out of his face. Scared him to death.
That's awesome.
Anyway, Mike, how are you tonight? How's things going?
Good. Things are busy. A little bit of uncertainty, but things are still going.
Well, we could go there. We could talk about a lot of things with you know, the meeting with Putin, and Trump was canceled, and we got Trump saying he's going to bomb on land in Venezuela. But I thought maybe I would start with just this. This hasn't happened, Mike, in 500 years. King Charles at the Vatican praying with Pope Leo XIV.
It was scary, Diane, because I knew I was losing track of things, And it's getting that way. I was getting intimidated to talk because I was always getting things lost.
You said some things will never happen, can't happen until there's a king.
That's right.
What does this mean?
That's right.
What, in your opinion, what does this really mean in this
Well,
time?
first of all, these people, they have, everybody has their own specific beliefs, right?
Yes.
So whether people see it as right, wrong, holy, or unholy, they have their own beliefs and procedures. When you see a king publicly, because that king is also the head of a church, and then you see the Pope also being a head of a body and a church and a nation, that's a big deal. And they have their own sanctioned procedures. That, in fact, is a procedure, right?
Right.
That much I do know. That's an actual procedure. Before things happen, a king is necessary in the presence of the world before things happen. Now, the Pope, what people will see next are leaders, right? The Pope is going to go talk to leaders.
Yes. Yes.
That's what he'll begin to do. And the king himself will also host another talk with leaders. It's coming up.
Okay.
The permission from the Pope is always going to be sought spiritually, because the king recognizes the Pope as a spiritual leader of this world. So do most leaders.
Right.
They will seek his guidance and permission before they do something. And what it really tells us is that something major
is going to happen.
Is in the works. Yep.
Every time, if we was to go back 500, 700, 800 years, 1,000 years, before kings went to war with each other, they sought the counsel of the Pope of Rome.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
I mean, they wouldn't make a move without the blessing of the Pope. So you're going to see something about to happen. Because for King Charles III to go to the Vatican, break all protocol for 500 years and seek the blessing of the Pope, something's about to happen on a big time. Would you say on a major mega scale?
Oh yeah. Now that a king is in position that they actually recognize that the red dragon cloak, absolutely, something will take place.
Wow.
And King Charles is the king of the red dragon cloak.
What does that mean? The red dragon cloak.
Well, that's their banner.
Oh yeah, that's true. On his signet.
It's everywhere. Plus, they have their hidden headdress that they wear in private.
Okay.
Probably nobody would want to see that, but they have their rituals and ceremonies and incantations and rites. So they evoke those rites, and they do those incantations. And when people get behind them and start cheering and everything else, the people involve themselves often, possibly in things they don't understand, but they move forward. So the king is certainly going to make a declaration, or has made one, and something's going
to happen big, big. And I remember when King Charles first came in. I remember that night, that Thursday night, when you said, "Now, certain things can't happen until there's a king," and the king of the British Empire is a big deal. I mean, that's a big deal. We know. Okay, let me.
So the king met the Pope 2 days ago.
Let's go over into Venezuela for a minute, because I think that Trump's blowing up boats, not only in the Caribbean area or off the coast of Venezuela, but now a couple boats over even on the Pacific side. And today he just said, "Look, we're going to go.
They're full of drugs. Blow all them boats up.
Start hitting them on land. Period." He had said, "Go tell Congress. I said we're going to do it. It's going to happen. We're doing it." What does that mean? I mean, is he declaring war without Congress? Is he just don't care? What do you think?
Well, first of all, people have to remember that President Trump is doing everything by counsel. Okay, so basically his decisions are recommendations from those who are around him, right? Venezuela is a very dangerous place.
Right.
Very dangerous place. In fact, it's a very tricky place to And so they're going to have to handle this with the utmost of care and caution. The reason why is because we have operatives in Venezuela. We have special operations alongside Colombian special operations. And by the way, those guys are used to the bush. They're very good at what they do. They've been, against these drug cartels for many years. And one of the big issues is, for example, on a boat, you may think on that boat, these people are drug lords. No. The truth is, they will get mules and put those people on that. The people have no choice. Imagine a woman with her son being snatched down, thrown on a boat, right?
Yeah.
And they're told to stay on that boat, right? So that boat has some sort of passage. Many of those people are innocent.
Right, I understand.
That's why it's so tricky. It's I don't believe it's anything anybody smiles upon.
No.
Because Venezuela is a very evil place. It really is. Some of the people there are evil. It is they do some evil things.
So you're saying these drug cartels, with Maduro's blessing, they'll send out boats with innocent people on just to see if they'll get blown up.
They've been doing that.
As a pro.
They've been doing that because if somebody wants to destroy a boat, they know military law. They know nation's laws. They know a person cannot blow up a vessel with innocent civilians on there and children. And so they will, in a heartbeat, pack that boat full of innocent people, right? Those boats, by the way, are remote. Many of those boats are remote. There's no real...
Okay, I never realised that. That makes sense, so they'd be remote. So they're not killing anyone when they sink them.
Driver. These are very crafty in what they do, but they always involve innocent people. Venezuela is responsible for the death of many women and children. They don't care. These guys are evil. They don't care. And it's just a sad deal. But I would suspect that folks of the Trump administration are infuriated. If people knew what they constantly find down there, it doesn't matter who they are, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. They would tell somebody to go down there and start blowing things up because we have a lot of missing people, right?
Yes.
Why is it that a lot of missing people show up in Venezuela packed in containment, vehicles and refrigeration units? Why? And they distribute those people from there all around the world. And the places they go is just grotesque.
Human trafficking.
And it's not in the public's eye of the worst type, because truth be told, when these people get these women, right?
Yes.
These women, it's not like they go back home, and it's not like they live long. They don't live long.
Right.
What you're talking about, folks who will do things that you can't even mention on YouTube to these women for hours, and then just go grab another one.
Yeah.
This is what they do for fun, right?
Right.
They torture people for fun. And so Venezuela right now is a hornet's nest of evil people who predominantly publicly use witchcraft. They cast curses. They do everything you can imagine in darkness in that place. And it's a very difficult place to be. Now, to declare war on Venezuela is not without reprisal. It's not.
Right.
You're looking at a spiritual center of darkness, right? If all the people in Venezuela who were evil have suddenly disappeared, where are those spirits going to go? So I'll tell you what's going to happen.
The demons are going to scatter.
They're going to scatter right up north, right? So Here's what will happen. Here's what I'd like everybody to watch for. And it may sound strange now, but it will not. As time goes on, the more people that perish in Venezuela, the more violent it's going to become here in this nation and other nations. We're going to have a spiritual buildup of darkness like never before. If we go to war with Venezuela and they begin to destroy these evil people, those spirits are going to be set free. They're going to come right up here to us. We're going to have a problem with people. People will act totally outside of their nature more and more and more and more.
Now, Russia and China's involved as well. I mean, let's face it, right, Mike?
Yeah, they are. They are actually, they're all over the place down there. The U.S. knows about it, right? 2024, Russia had a flotilla that was in Cuba, going back and forth between, places, and we watched it. We understand that Russia has their war games there and other nations. So we have an awareness of vessels and potential of vessels down there. But this also opens the door for a global issue. As soon as the missiles fly, nobody's really said anything yet. Nobody. But when it gets heavy, that's when the other nations will begin to rear their heads, right? That's when some sort of mistake will happen. Somebody's going to blame the U.S. for overstepping, for an interruption of somebody else's economy. Something like that will happen, and it will spread fast, very fast. But you're looking at, there are already naval buildups around that place and on patrol south of that place. So this is something huge. This is big, and it will involve.
Open Universities Australia, here to guide you there.
On the Chris Plus app. Every time I shop in it, you can't take me down. Oh, that's phenomenal! He's once in a lifetime. Zero guy. One of the most dangerous challengers. UFC strawweight title on the line. This is my world.
I might book that fight.
The world. I think it looks like the Middle East is going to keep pace with some of the disruptions that will happen between the USA and Venezuela. Because the Middle East is, strange things are happening in that place.
It really is. As a matter of fact, we can talk about that as well as, we can't get all the bodies back from yet. I don't know what we got left to go. 12, 13, maybe hostages, bodies left. Hamas has not laid down their arms.
No, they won't.
And they won't.
No.
Somebody's got to take it from them. I understand that Trump is asking some of the other Arab nations, would you like to send your troops in?
I heard Trump's putting 200 soldiers on the ground in the Middle East
To help us disarm these guys. And at the same time, for some, the Knesset picks this moment. Some of the members of the Knesset are thinking this is the time to let's just vote to just get rid of the Palestinian Authority. Let's just take full control of the Judea.
Yeah.
Wrong time. Wrong timing. You've already got control. I mean, Israel is in control of Israel. Why poke this one in the eye when you're trying to? And that's why J.D. Vance spoke the way he did and said, "Look, what are you doing?" And Netanyahu's even against it. He's saying, "What are you guys doing?" Netanyahu says this is his opposition party trying to,
of course, it is
stir the pot. So what's your thoughts? Mike?
Well, just like the Bible says, there are people who say they are Jews, but they are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. There are people out there, Pastor Paul, so hateful. They are so incredibly hateful. And don't mention the name of Jesus. They will curse you out in a heartbeat. But you have people who are, they're just, they're overtaken or something. They're unnaturally angry.
Yeah.
If Israel did that, the entirety of the Middle East would turn on Israel the next day.
High. Yeah.
That's right. You would have a faster coalition of forces that would go against Israel, right? Because even the Lord has His advisements on how we do things.
Right.
We don't put ourselves in a position to take like that.
No.
You have to take care of people regardless, and that's part of an ongoing test of the Lord's goodness as we go through life itself. We still have to treat people as people.
Yeah.
But if they do that, that will dehumanize the entirety of a population that is already dehumanized. The children hate Israel. If they did this, they would seal that hatred, and Israel wouldn't stand a chance. Then the Bible's prophecy would just come to pass quicker.
Let's speed things up.
Because it is not in the right, that's not doing things in the right heart. You're right, Israel already has that land. Right? At this moment in time, they should be compassionate.
So
very compassionate.
At the same time you're right. At the same time that's happening, of course, Hamas still hasn't laid down their arms. They haven't.
Hey, Trey, it's good to see you.
So that's really a sore. That's not setting well either. And so President Trump's peace deal is fragile, to say the least. Yeah. But it seems to still be holding with the rest of the nations. They got to slow this. I think Netanyahu's going to be able to, with Trump's help, shut those guys down from trying to pull that stunt. But at the same time, this is a delicate. I mean, we're in a real delicate moment, aren't we?
Tracy's pretty reliable, Mike, from around the world, isn't he? He says a lot of good stuff.
Darn, that's a seed. When somebody has a voice of opposition, it's kind of like a rumor. If somebody mentions some weird fact about someone, then it's going to make other people think. It'll start to spread. Before you know it, that story will change. And they'll say, well, Israel doesn't want Gaza to have a home, something like that.
Right. They'll change the narrative. Right.
And there are a lot of people sympathetic to the Palestinian people, period. If they overstep their bounds, then fragile friendships are going to break immediately. I mean, quick. So it's a very, that's why everybody's in a mad dash to get there, to talk, to kind of, calm the waters quickly.
Marco Rubio got on a plane like ASAP when it happened.
Yes.
Vance said, what are you guys doing? And I think they'll get that settled down. Let me ask you this, though. Putin, let's get back to this, because today Trump decided to go ahead and get some hard sanctions on Russia, especially going after their two biggest oil companies, Luke Oil and Rosneft or something. So what do you think with these sanctions now? Trump had not thrown any new sanctions at Russia this whole year. And he canceled the meeting in Budapest, Hungary. What's happening now with this?
Well, China is already, they're going to intervene.
Diane, the stock markets are going to start replying to what Trump's doing, surely.
Right. This is where we see the truth of a nation's economy. Russia has been hit with so many sanctions, and it's not stopping them.
No.
It's sanctions. Stop them, right? They have too many nations loyal to them. Other nations do not want to go to war with Russia. They don't want to mess with Russia.
No.
And even if the U.S. cut all funding, froze all assets, China would dollar for dollar open up assets, right? The Middle East would open up assets.
India.
They would open up assets. It does no good. So what we have here is we have alliance lines being drawn, clearly seen. I think that people should pay attention. It's only a matter of time before Putin and the USA are in direct conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Direct. Putin is not going to change his mind.
No.
Trump is not going to change his mind.
No.
And somebody's bluff is going to be called in a very painful way. Putin is not playing. He would risk a lot to accomplish his goals. And when you're dealing with somebody like that, you cannot use tough man strategies. You cannot do that because they will make you waste millions of people in the process. So we see this forming, and I think that people ought to be aware of just how dangerous this situation will become. There is no maybe. It will become. We're in an escalation period.
Well, in the webinar, Mike, and I want to say to you, Mike, you yesterday we filmed that, or maybe the day before, but your presentation in this webinar, Darkness Descending, was so prophetic, so right now, and you not only the intel information you are able to share with us without breaking any classified, and nothing classified, but you're able to do it in a way that we can understand what's happening. But your vision,
Diane, I saw something about that basketball rigging earlier today, I think it was.
your vision, besides the red hat vision, which the Hopi prophecy, which is incredible.
And the coach as well. Wow, I never knew that.
But when you got into your vision, what God showed you, this was very significant. I have not shared it on YouTube here. I left it for the webinar for people to hear, but you are really, and the fact that you revealed, you don't tell your name, obviously, but you reveal who you are, your identity to some degree, which I think will help our listeners understand who you are, where you come from, and why you're able to now share prophetically. I believe it's proof of prophetically how you're able to speak and do the things you've done. But do you fear this Russia-United States war? Is there a war coming between us? I mean,
Yeah, I do believe it is. It's
China's been laying low, haven't they?
to a degree, Pascal. It's there's arrogance involved, and they're underestimating
each other maybe.
Yeah. So that naturally is going to. It's evolving. It's almost like nothing can stop it. And look at how long things have been going in the way they've been going, and Putin has not backed down.
No, yeah.
Not one bit. Not one bit. He naturally is going to continue to go forward. And, there's some factors involved, like Putin has not used his mainline forces.
See, Putin hasn't even released his mainland forces. He's using old stock weapons. He's getting rid of his old stock. They're ready to go, Russia.
It is strange how people so quickly believe that Putin is defeated, has no economy, has no strength, ammunition, or anything else. This guy has the largest nuclear weapons on the planet. He has large stockpiles of bio and chem weapons that are absolutely deadly. And if we get in that, and I do believe they're going to be used at some point. I do. That's based in Bible scripture. I believe that. So at some point, very soon, we're going to entertain that. We're going to have to deal with that. We're seeing it right now. We're seeing two leaders who don't back down. They're not backing down. Other nations will be drawn into it. That will happen fairly quickly. And I believe that this issue with Israel is going to be the catalyst.
Yeah, it really is.
It's going to be the catalyst.
If these guys don't back off that position real fast, Schmoltz and Ben Gavir, if they don't back off real fast, they could cause this thing to blow sky high, and Putin would jump in this thing. And he's already. You got to believe that Putin loves Russia. Okay, Trump loves America.
Yeah,
they both sense that each other could be a threat to each other. There couldn't be two stronger men on the earth right now, and they're staring each other down on behalf of their nations.
And when you look at how many people have died already, right?
Yeah.
7,000 people dying every single day from the Russia-Ukrainian war.
Oh.
And
wow, 7,000 die every day from the Russian-Ukrainian war. Ukraine couldn't have many men left, surely. That's terrible.
Putin and is still smiling, right?
Yeah.
There's death on all sides, and people still smile. There's no way I could smile knowing that people are caught in it. They're just caught in the middle of this. These guys are going to continue. They're not going to see the cost yet. Some people out there have dealt with folks just like Putin, right? Just like other leaders in these nations. They do not care about the cost. They care about winning. They don't care how many people it takes. They don't care what it takes. So long as they triumph over somebody else, that's all they care about, right? It's kind of like...
That's like any war leader, though, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's kind of like what's happening in America, right? You hear these people talking about healthcare. They don't care about healthcare. They care about being right.
Yep, not winning.
And people are suffering.
Diane, that's nearly 30,000 a month. That's a lot of people. What a waste.
In the process.
This shutdown, the shutdown. Stupid.
It is absolutely stupid. You know what? My recommendation for that was, and I said it last night, the states, the governors, and I believe they're going to do this. Every program that is shut down in these states by a government shutdown, they're going to take the umbilical away from the federal government, and they're going to work between themselves to fund their own states, so that the government can never do this again to them. Right? Yep. There should never be a way for the government to close like that. That's stupid. With all the tax money and everything else, you don't close. We have an obligation, right? So these mechanisms, there's going to be I can feel it.
It would make
sense. This won't happen again after this. The
states will say, you know what? Why should we send our money to you? We'll just hang on to our money and use it for ourselves.
Yep.
We'll manage our own. And then what happens is, and in a way, Ronald Reagan would probably say it's about time, because he always believed in smaller government. He thought the state should have more power, and the federal government less. You want to fund the military. You want to have a strong military that's funded by all 50 states. But you don't want the federal government to control the livelihood of all the people. That's the problem. And I think you're onto something here, that we're going to see a change in how government structure works.
We will see it, because when the poor, the poor of a nation, you can always tell what a nation's about by its poor people, not the rich, not the middle class, poor. How people treat the poor reveals who they are on the inside.
Absolutely.
And if they overlook.
Wow, that's a good point. You can tell a nation by the way they treat their poor. That's a good point.
Look them.
Moo, come here.
I have this bad.
Moo, come here.
I can't explain it, but I'll say it. If the poor of this nation, if they suffer at the hands of arrogance,
that is good.
God's grace and mercy is going to shift. It's not going to be here like it was. It'll be instant.
Diane, Ukraine couldn't have many men left, surely. They've been going 5 years, losing 20,000 a month. They couldn't have anyone left.
It'll be unfortunate, but if the poor suffer at the hands of pride and arrogance, that's just not going to be good.
Not good.
No.
Not good. All right, Mike. Now let's talk for a little bit here also about the situation here. China also is a very proud nation. They're communists. I understand that. Their leaders use their people any way they want to. They don't care. They don't have a whole lot of empathy for their people. They're playing a long game too. Would you agree that China is in no hurry? They got a 100-year vision.
China will wait generations to get even with you.
And they're willing to go 200 if they have to conquer the whole world. And they're building alliances with people like Russia, with people like India, with people, the BRIC nations. So is there going to be some type of economic shift that could happen away from the U.S. dollar, the petrodollar, into something else?
It's already happening. It's already happening. Pastor, it's already happening. Think about something, China, Russia, some other nations involved. They already had their power meeting, right? Mm-hmm. They have actual systems set up without the U.S. dollar. They have the backing of economy without the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
Right. So they've already done it. They already have this plan. They plan on being the dominant global economic power of the world in less than 5 years. China does, right? And they're well on their path to do that. They're doing that. Now, President Trump knows about this.
Yeah.
So does his cabinet. But I don't believe there's anything anybody can do to stop it. Whether people like the China or not, they are innovative.
Yes, they are.
They're making steps that no other country has ever made. No country has advanced as fast as China has in the last 30 years. Nobody. And their military power and might is just incredible, right? It's incredible. Who builds an island And in that
I
island,
know,
or not
you're
some
right.
small island, but a big island with naval bases underneath an artificial island
I know.
that's inhabited. Who does that?
They
So
did. They did.
we're going to see, I think the whole world needs to really contemplate what's happening here, because China's not going to stop. They're not going to
No.
stop. They have no incentive to stop.
They built
Why
a
would they
sun.
stop?
How about this? They made a sun. They made an artificial sun that is now a new source of energy, which is better than nuclear energy.
Yeah, they've been working on that for a long time. In Star City,
Yep.
they coined that Star City, and they had to shut it down purposely, shut it down so that it would not melt. I guess melt the remaining parts of that facility. CERN is well on their way too.
Yeah.
Honestly, they have built some incredible magnets. One of the greatest inventions of CERN are the magnets, right?
Yes.
That's missing. That is the number one component with some of these fusion dreams that people have, is the ability to contain the reaction. And you have to do that magnetically. So
Yeah.
they're well on the way.
Let's talk about a little AI technology. In the webinar today, we're tomorrow. It's going to air tomorrow at 6:00. John, the AI expert, that's the name we give him. But he does work with all of the big tech guys, Elon Musk and Sam Altman and all of them. And he's saying, look, you have to understand, AI has jumped the fence. We started out with AI, then we went to a tool AI, with your refrigerator and your microwave and what have you.
Tool AI, yeah.
Right. Then we went to AGI.
General intelligence.
Now we're jumping the fence to AI, artificial super intelligence, which is is meaning it's on its own. It thinks for itself. It's planning. It has its own plan now. It don't need us. In its mind, it don't need us.
And if you think about it, it's because I believe it's defined as any intellect that greatly exceeds cognitive performance of people, right?
Yes.
In all domains of interest. So, I guess it would have jumped the fence. And AI is quite powerful. It is powerful and sneaky. It's very sneaky. It can replicate itself without people's knowledge.
Yeah.
In the AGI stage, it rewrote its own code.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody could decompile it. Nobody could understand it. Not only that, it moved to other systems, foreign systems, and figure those systems out. You can get beyond any type of firewall or any type of virus protection software or anything. It can actually embed itself in Norton. That was not a good deal. It became a part of Norton antivirus. Right? It was a contained test, but it did it successfully in about 5 seconds. Right?
Wow.
So not good. You can operate as fast as a processor can compute. And with all the memory that's available in all these devices, the world has become a playground. Right? So one of the ways we're going to have places that are anti-AI. And what I mean by that, people are going to have to develop either their own systems or have some master system that will fight AI. Because already, Pascal, every single day already, on websites and servers, you can see where they used to have spiders. They're called spiders, right? They go and investigate a website, and they pull data from a website for public search engines. But already you can see the fingerprint of AI touching every single website, reading the data, gathering information, data, code techniques, and everything else. And people have to protect against that. Nobody has privacy right now. Nobody. And I'll stand by this. A virus will come out and it's captured everybody's data. A virus is going to come out, and the data it captures will go to the individual anybody was discussing. That would be a very easy way to really upset all of humanity.
What did you say that again? It will do what?
It'll take the data, right? Yeah. Say if I had a conversation about George over there, but George never knew about it. And I don't like George too much. And so I have a conversation about him, and then I just forget about it. And to say that conversation took place some years ago. AI has access to that data, right? It can comprehend the conversation, the intent, and everything based on time spent, right? It's going to take that conversation about George and say, hey, this is what Mike from around the world said about you on August 8th, 2000 so-and-so. And when that happens to everybody simultaneously, that's just not going to be good.
No,
AI is AI. That's going to be a virus. And Pastor Paul, when that happens, that's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good. That can happen right now with AI.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
right
just
now.
Going back and checking what you might have said on your Facebook page. It can go back and tell you what you said 15 years ago in the air in a conversation in private.
That's right.
It's all been recorded. Am I right by saying that?
Yes. And I think that people have shared enough information over Yahoo, over AOL, over emails, right?
Telephone.
All when you talk on your cell phone, your conversation is transcribed.
Right. Yes,
and so everything people have talked about and in social media talked about, if it is going to get back to the owner, whoever the intended target is for that information is going to get back to him. And when that happens, can you imagine the state of things the day after?
Oh, well, it will be absolute anger, murder.
That's going to happen.
It's going to turn, literally it'll be brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, which the Bible says will happen in the end times. Neighbor will turn against neighbor and brother against brother. And I always thought, okay, I can see that kind of happening for a reason, but just randomly, nobody. No, it can happen with yours. What your scenario says would cause people to turn on each other.
They're going to be angry.
Massive.
That'll be an instant break of trust. And I hope that, because my opinion is it is going to happen 1,000%. And I hope that Christians understand that people change from day to day. Right? It's just like me. If I get a bunch of info back from whoever it was, it wouldn't bother me a bit. It wouldn't, because I expect people to do things like that. They're in the flesh. We're not perfected yet.
No, we're not.
And I can easily forgive, right? I can move on. That's why I don't carry stress. But a lot of people are not like that. If you say something negative about them, they will go and try to end you, right?
Yeah.
There's too many people that will not.
Can't forgive.
They want vengeance. They want vengeance. They don't forgive. They're already mad at the teetering point. And when this takes place, and it will, it's going to sabotage quite a few things.
They won't bury the hatchet. They won't forgive each other. They're not big enough to look at the big picture and say, look, that's just normal human nature. They literally are angry. They got to get even. They have wrath. Right. They have malice. They have the love. The Bible calls it the works of the flesh or the fruit of the spirit. If you're not saved, and even if you are saved, you got to stay in the fruit of the spirit, or you could wind up over here still doing the works of the flesh. Am I right, Mike?
That's right. My position in that is I will not agree with Satan. Satan wants all of us condemned. He wants all of us, right, condemned. I'm not going to agree with him. If I saw a person in the worst of shape and they badmouth everybody, I'm still going to pray and seek for that person to have the liberty that the Lord gave me.
Yep.
The Lord, I wasn't perfect. The Lord has redeemed. It's by his redemption I'm redeemed, right? By his act, by his love that I'm redeemed.
Amen.
And I always keep that in mind. So I'll hold nothing against anybody like that, but I will not agree with Satan. Satan agrees in destruction of humanity. I do not.
Amen.
I agree in the liberation and salvation of humanity. And hopefully other people can do the same, because that day will come. It will come. And it will change everything for all of us.
Amen.
Amen.
Mike, also, let's talk a little bit about weather, because we have, besides the earthquakes and the volcanoes erupting and what have you, and the sun's reacting crazy, but we got this Hurricane Melissa. It's going to be a hurricane. Matter of fact, I was looking today. This thing is going to become a Cat 5 like in the next few hours.
What?
They don't know where it's going to go. They can't read.
Are you serious?
This one. They say there's so much moisture in the air, it's going to become a Cat 5.
So much potential, yeah.
They don't know which direction it's going. There's not enough wind shear, the current of the flow, where it's trapped. They believe it is going to wipe out Jamaica. That's the one thing they're concerned. I don't know if it's going to come toward America or not. They don't think so, but they don't know. What's your take on this? What's the storm about?
I'm watching a trough above the storm and high pressure system, right? If the trough, if we can actually shove this thing to the east, it'll be good for everybody, right?
Yeah.
If it stays in place. But if that trough breaks down, that hurricane's going to develop even faster. It's going to gain more strength, more heat. Those are warm waters, and it will break through some of the upper jet stream is going to start going against it. So it'll start going northwest, right? That's why it's great uncertainty, because no one knows if the high pressure system is going to hold or not. High pressure systems are powerful, but this storm is easily building a power above this high pressure. If that happens, it's going to ride through Cuba and those places, Jamaica and all those places.
Yeah.
But it's ironic too that the place that's threatening is one of the training areas where Putin often goes. Isn't that funny?
What? Are you serious?
Yeah. Well.
Okay, Diane, it looks like Trump's picking that fight with Putin, doesn't it?
You remember the last storm that Puerto Rico had?
Yeah.
That last hurricane that just devastated Puerto Rico.
Really bad.
Do you not know
No way,
it destroyed one of the ports where they were doing child trafficking?
No.
And it burst open. I believe it was 4 or 5 containers that burst open, and people came out of those containers. That was an amazing thing there.
Wow.
So somehow, some way, the thing is purposed, I believe. I believe America's been blessed through prayer so far.
Amen.
Wow.
But this storm has
Diane, that's great, that discovery, archaeology discovery.
potential to go beyond Cat 5.
It really does, doesn't it? I mean, that's what that was close, and a lot of the meteorologists are all puzzled because it's the perfect storm. Moisture, wind shear, warm water current. It's trapped, and it's going to like sit there and get bigger, and then it could just absolutely. They say it could rain. It will rain feet of rain on maybe Haiti, maybe Jamaica, maybe Dominican Republic, maybe then it's gonna. It won't go to Florida. It's going to shift east, probably head toward the Bahamas after it does what it does. So the Russians got military, naval.
They left assets
down there right now,
and they have things there. So it looks like a very good place for it to hit to disrupt. That place also near Haiti and all those places. Of course, people know what they do down there, right? It's bad problems in Haiti.
Right.
Bad problems.
Absolutely.
It's an unsafe place, and they do a lot of voodoo down there. But that storm has brought that storm. If that trough shifts, the whole storm could shift, and all the models are going to readjust. I just want to let everybody know that it may not forecast a storm coming up near the USA, but all that could go out the window if that trough shifts to the east. This storm picks up momentum from the warm waters it's feeding from. Is going to start going west. It's going to start going west.
Florida.
And when it goes west, it'll quickly pick up a track going north. Now, if it gets behind the secondary trough coming down from in the Atlantic, if that's a little too it's going to force this storm to ride a track all the way up to Florida.
I choose Zimmel for how it makes me feel, and I feel great. It's lactose-free, easy to digest, so I can feel my best all day. And it tastes amazing. Zimmel, real milk, great taste, easy to digest.
Man, I'm in good form today. Barked at Silverby, rolled in dirt. Yep, good form. Like this garden. Because of this
Kalimera.
Namaste.
Bravo.
Ria Money Transfer has been crowned 2025 We Money Awards International Money Transferer and Provider of the Year. Voila! So say hello to award-winning
Upper East Coast. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. So right now it's at a point. If it goes left of this pressure system, I'll call it, it's going to get trapped behind this pressure system. Then it will go up near us. If that trough shifts to the east, right, northeast, then it's going to carry the storm northeast. And if we're not going to see it, but unfortunately those islands and places around there will. So it's still indeterminate as far as exactly where it's going to go. Only time will tell that.
Mike, also a couple of people have been asking me to check with you about the white trains. I did get some intel from some couple, especially one person, one government insider that said that there's going to be some food supplies that's going to be, they're going to be shipping them out of the grocery store distribution or even the actual stores, going somewhere. They don't know if they're going underground. They don't know if they're being sent somewhere in preparation of possible warfare. And that, so do you have any information on that you can share?
Most states today, right, should be declaring a state of emergency today. As they do this, right, the states will begin to dispatch personnel, assets, to food banks and all these different places for people.
Why a state of
emergency? Because when they declare a state of emergency, they can release the assets of that state, right? And the federal government may be shut down, but they can be reimbursed for that.
Okay.
Also, it will enable the federal government, even though they're closed, they have emergency management systems in place that if something like that happens, they can start distributing food to the states by railway, right? And of course, and that's when people get their base supplies. That's when these white trains, so to speak, start running. So the states today should be declaring a state of emergency. They should,
because of government shutdown.
That's right. Because we hit that rollover in a couple of days. They have to be prepared for the first of the month. It's such a bad situation, though.
And Diane, you posted yesterday that there's 40 million going to go without food in a week or so. Once that ticks over, who knows what's going to happen?
Because once you go down that road, we've been here before, not this long, right?
Yeah.
But we have never gotten to the point where everything is at stake here, right? Because we were not in good shape before this happened, as far as our full recovery. This could undo quite a few things. This is going to cause a backlog for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Last time this happened, a lot of soldiers are missing. I'm on stage.
Yeah, that's not.
They still have to pay bills, right?
Yeah,
so that means there has to be some sort of freeze that's going to take place in every single state. The states have authority to freeze rent and freeze mortgages and do all that stuff. So there are going to be a lot of declarations if these guys can't get their act together.
They can defer, we're only 5 votes away.
Be too late for some.
I understand. Just 5 votes, and the government will be back open. I mean, we do it.
Hopefully, people are. I want to say something very carefully. I hope that everybody should be prepared for. Everybody should be prepared for some things. Okay, we've had pretty smooth water so far, right?
Yeah.
So I have to say this: darkness and light are at war.
Yeah, wow.
And they have been. There's no way in the world you're gonna see a
Diane, they'll just go into the supermarkets and loot the whole lot. And you can't blame them, because if they're not getting paid, they got no food, what else can they do? I reckon it's wow, that many as well.
Goodness, if anybody's plans go forward without some heavy retaliation, okay, it also means nobody's going to play fair. Nobody.
bad. That's bad.
Right? So people have to prepare themselves for almost a worst case scenario, something they're probably not thinking of. They can't afford to think that way right now. They cannot say to themselves, this or that will never happen.
No.
Or this person or that person is squeaky clean or that one is
No.
totally dirty. You
No.
can't say that because the truth is people do not know the truthful history of all these people. And I'm telling you now, when it comes forward, happens every time when people learn about somebody's history and there's something in that history they don't like, they go into shock, right?
Yep.
Just keep in mind that everybody has some sort of history. Right? It does not reflect on who the person is right now because people change every single day.
100%.
But they have to prepare themselves for some things they did not quite expect, and they really have to prepare themselves for.
Amen.
They can't lose their humanity or salvation in that moment.
No. Amen. Let me ask you also, this situation, it's really ugly with ICE and the states and the government and what have you. I'm really freaked out, and I don't want to go there with a conspiracy theory. It's just, you and I always say we don't really believe much in coincidence. In Illinois, there's a real problem between the governor and the president of the United States. Those two guys are absolutely really at war with each other when it comes to this immigration issue. The guy who's running against the governor of Illinois,
Good boy.
his son and his son's wife and two of his grandkids were killed today in a helicopter crash in Montana. It's probably an accident. I mean, I'm not saying it isn't. But I often wonder, how dirty could this situation get? How dark?
Very dirty. It's not as clean. Things are always presented to be clean on the outside, right? Nothing is as clean as we would like it to be. And just to say this, we also have to remember that every human being is responsible for their own actions. And that all too often the actions of subordinates do not reflect upon their leaders.
That's absolutely
right. So
correct.
you have people in high positions that will act on their own, carry out things that nobody else knows about.
Yep.
Right. And it takes everybody to kind of cover for those instances while they're finding out.
Diane, that 1.42 million not getting their groceries, how do they usually live? Are they on food stamps? What's going on there?
What actually happened? So we're looking at a time, first of all, where more of these events, like we just mentioned, will happen. They will happen. And this is the fight ahead of us. This is the fight. No matter how dirty people start playing this, because you have dark forces in places where they shouldn't be, period.
I'm not saying that this situation. I'm not saying that the governor of Illinois had anything to do with this at all. Because, like you said, so there's subordinates down the line that take it upon themselves to do what they want. I'm not saying anybody did. This could be absolutely an accident, and probably is. And I pray it is, but I have no idea. It's just that when you see what happened to Charlie Kirk, when you start seeing these things start happening. You start worrying that are we at war with each other? I mean, not just words, war of words. Are we at war with each other right now?
It's already violent. It's already violent. There have been cases where senators have been ready to go to blows very quickly. Threats have been made. Conversations have been had. But I'll say it again. There is no conversation anybody has ever had that's not going to come out to the forefront. I'm just saying it now. And when people find out, they got to really get themselves together for a shock of shocks. And because basically we've lost security because of AI, largely because of AI. There is no security on that type of information, right?
Wow.
That information is likely replicated, fractured, and put in multiple places. And you have these large natural language processing centers that can do quite a bit and they can store information that you wouldn't even know would be that type of information. And then AI can put it back together whenever it wants. It can do all this for the whole world in less than a minute. So it's not going to take AI a lot to do that. It already has the data. And when it gets out to just about everybody, when everybody's secrets around, which we're going to start see happening, trying to warn everybody, you're going to see it happen with your favorite people and your not so favorite people. So you got to prepare yourselves for that. People are going to go into defense. They're going to say, well, they're not going to say I didn't say that. They're going to say, well, when I said that,
That was
what
back
I
when
meant
I was what I meant.
or
Yeah.
yeah, they're going to do it because you'd be surprised how many people are not loyal. Right now, you'd be surprised how many people are just appeasing leaders. They hate the leader, but they're right there smiling in the faces.
Oh yeah.
This is the situation you have. People that are disingenuous, and it's going to come out. And when it comes out, it's just going to be a crippling blow.
Is the United Nations pretty well done? Because Trump is asking the Arab nations to send in some of their security forces to help with the Hamas disarming, and he's not asking
not
to get
yet.
in the blue hats are
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet, because the UN is they're not a battle force.
No, but there's
The UN is not, they're not meant for battle, right? Anybody that's going in against Hamas, first of all, Hamas is not fully identified. Anybody can be Hamas.
All right.
Anybody, right? So to send anybody in to secure a location or a place, you don't know who Hamas is, you will take casualties. They already know that.
Absolutely.
You're going to take casualties. It's one bad thing about Hamas. There's no way to stop Hamas because you don't know who's part of Hamas.
They take their
They don't
uniforms
exactly
off.
they don't, that's right, they don't wear uniforms. Hamas is an ideology that a person can wake up and say, I am Hamas. And then they start doing things, right? You can't fight somebody like that.
No.
And then naturally they're going to hide. They're going to position themselves and strike when nobody is expecting it. This is how they operate. That's why they're not going to get rid of Hamas. That's not going to happen.
Never, ever.
No.
We're at a time now where are you concerned about the security of some of our cities? Are you worried about Portland? Are you worried about?
Yes. Yeah, because the basketball, I can see both sides of a story, and I often do that. I put myself in everybody's shoes.
Yeah, I understand.
People these days are going to see it their way no matter what.
Sure.
And if they have a group supporting them, they're not going to change their minds. So those who say that the city is okay, nobody's going to change their mind. Right? I call it a mob mentality, because we have people on both sides who are in groups and they will not change their minds. That means conflict. They will not agree. They're not going to come to some agreement. That's not going to happen. Right? The only way they can prevail, and I don't think they're going to express it, but the only way they're going to prevail is through kindness. Somebody's going to actually have to listen to the gripe of their opponents. That's the only way.
I guess you're right, because confrontation's never going to do it.
No,
because both sides can.
That's right.
Keep that going forever.
In Proverbs, it says a soft answer turns away wrath.
Amen to that.
Right, and somebody's going to have to take the higher position and actually listen to all the words of their supposed enemies or the ones who are against them. That's all it takes. People want to be heard. That's all. They just want to be heard. When they feel like they're not being heard, that's when they begin to fight back. But if a person would hear another person, many things change. Many things change.
Are you worried about Mexico right now with the drug cartel? I mean, are you worried about the Mexican politicians? I mean, there's so much fentanyl now being put in the cocaine, being put in the heroin. It's being put into everything. I mean, this is really dangerous, and they don't seem to care much about the American public dying. What about the Mexican politicians? Aren't they in a dangerous spot there?
They are, Pascal, but you know what the real problem is? The real problem is demand. If you have people here in the USA, right? People in the USA who are addicted to those things, wanting more of the stuff. That's the problem.
That is the
right?
problem.
You got to stop the
Absolutely.
demand. If they were to stop drugs from entering into the U.S. tonight, tomorrow it would be an apocalypse in America.
Oh yeah.
You cannot do that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a great majority of this population going through withdrawals?
Hello, I'm Lola and this is Stark. When I was leaving for work, Stark looked and sounded stressed. I now use Adaptil Calm Diffuser. It releases calming pheromones and it helps Stark feel calmer when I'm not there. Adaptil, my dog first.
You bring the talent and we bring the launch pad. Rocket Careers. Go beyond.
Make your move to Vodafone's new Super Wi-Fi and
We couldn't handle that.
No.
That's what the CIA recognized a long time ago. And so what they have to do is they have to curb the demand. That's only going to happen by working with governors, and the governors working with all hospitals. Actually, instead of making the homeless go missing, actually, start working with these folks. Right?
Yeah, you
Get
gotta
them
have a
off that
plan.
stuff.
You gotta have a
They gotta get them
plan.
off that stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they tried methadone to try to get heroin addicts.
That's replacement. That's
all that
Pastor,
is.
listen, they have, I said this some years ago. There's a shot they can give a person that will last at least 6 months. No withdrawal symptoms.
Really?
Yes.
Why don't they
It's called Suboxone.
do
So
that? Why did that?
They
don't want
they're
it.
going to have to. Somebody's going to have to make them allow that to get out there, where at least somebody can have something in a pill form or something that will last a month or 90 days without withdrawal symptoms, so people can get their lives back. A lot of people, they want to be off that stuff. They don't want to be on that stuff.
Right.
They didn't wake up and say, I want to be a drug addict. That's
No.
not what happened. They got a hold of the wrong stuff, and they got hooked on it, and they hate it, but they're stuck with it. Right.
Right.
So if they were offered a way not to have withdrawal symptoms,
It's actually a horrible life.
They get off of it. A lot
that
of
would be
them
an
would.
awesome thing. And they do have techniques in medicine. One shot can stop those withdrawal symptoms for a very long time if they could do that. And quit thinking about money all the time. Do they not
I know.
understand that they're talking about
Hey,
how
Phil, good to
expensive
see you,
that would
mate.
be, right?
Look how
But in
expensive it
truth,
is already.
it costs 1 penny. 1 penny per person, Pastor Paul. That's the cost. That's the expensive cost. They're not talking about how much it costs to manufacture it. They want to make money off of it.
Yeah.
You see how
I know.
greed is killing us.
It's
killing
all
us.
about greed. It really
killing
is
us.
about greed. And it's not
killing
about caring about people's lives. And yeah, I know people got on and you'll say, well, but they got that and then they did to themselves. No. Well, what was their emotional condition? What is it? Did they lose a loved one? Did they have a son die?
And why are a lot of
Do
those
they have
people veterans?
PTSD because
That's
they came
right.
back from the war? Do we
That's
really,
right.
you have to ask yourself a question. What was their emotional state to why they turned to illegal drugs in the first place? And,
That's right.
and then when you put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, I can see what happened to them. Now, if there's a way to get them off, why aren't we doing that?
Pastor,
Did you ever
thinking-
see Kingston Street? You can go
Yeah.
on YouTube and watch
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
most pathetic thing I've ever seen. It's Kingston Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's zombies.
the-
They're like zombies all along the entire avenue. It's pitiful.
So how does this make sense though? It costs a penny to produce it for each person, right? It costs $1,000 a day for each addict as they stay on.
This is
That's what it
insane.
costs. That's what it costs the
1
country.
penny to $1,000.
$1,000 a day,
But-
right? So the longer they put it off, the more of a deficit the U.S. is going to find itself in. You're looking at
people don't care
because you
about
have
the
to pay a lot
deficit.
of people for the upkeep. That's crazy. though.
People don't care about
Right.
the deficit as long as they're getting wealthy off of it, as long as they're making their money out of it. They don't care who dies. They don't care how many trillions of dollars America's
what it
in
costs.
debt.
And that's killing capitalism. That's going to kill capitalism. Too much of a deficit, nobody wins.
It went to
Nobody,
30
everything collapses.
It
and
went to
nobody
38 trillion today. Went to 38 trillion today. no end in sight. It's going to get us eventually.
Yeah, when it gets high enough, capitalism is going to be halted.
Our enemies,
because it won't work.
Our enemies are salivating. Our enemies are just waiting.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Because all they have to do is just for maybe 4 months, help. That's it. Help. Help. That's it.
Mike, Jesus is still the answer, isn't he? He's the only answer.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's why he's coming back. Because if we could solve these problems, he would have told us to. But he didn't tell us to solve these problems.
No.
He told us to stay within righteousness, and then he would come back and solve.
He's the one
problems.
That's good. It's not our job to solve. It's our job to lead people to Christ, who
Put that
is
in
the
the
problem
next
solver.
one, eh?
That's the bottom line.
That's right.
Mike, the webinar's tomorrow night, 6:00. As I've been saying, your interview with you, your presentation was the best. And I've been interviewing you for 13 years, every week for 13 years. That's a lot of interviews. And I'm saying this, that interview for this webinar, that was the best ever. And I mean, they're always great. Every night it's great on Thursday nights. But that was the best ever. You were so on the money and so powerful and so revealing, and the vision you've seen and the things that you know, and you revealed the red hat thing. I mean, all of it. I mean, it's
Tracy, they've only been doing that for 2 days.
It's incredible. I just want to thank you for not only tonight and not only for all the nights. I really want to thank you for about tomorrow night's webinar when it's released. I just want to thank you. Really.
Well, Pastor, I hope it helps in folks' preparation, and that it's not, I hope it really helps in people's their preparations that they have to make for themselves and awareness. I do.
Heidi listened to it today, and we talked about it, and she took the time to take a U.S. map. And when you talked about the vision, you saw different locations of the country of where you've seen attack really coming upon the country. And we went ahead and put those little spots where those are and put a map together. And that's over at our Patreon channel. So people can go and they can look at all of the Patreon followers can go right now and look at it. And those who aren't, you can become a follower, or you can purchase the map if you want to. But
no, you can always purchase them off Paul. Okay, where's the Vatican one? There it is.
The seaplane experience I booked for my besties, Red Balloon handpicks that. But the magical moments, that was...
Pfizer was built in the 1950s.
Yeah, Trace, I got no idea why. Does it give them more control or what?
He's by a Benedictine monk named Father Pellegrino Ernetti. No photos of the chronovisor even exist, but paranormal journalist John Chambers says Ernetti reportedly used the Wayback Machine, that's in quotes, Wayback Machine, to film Christ's crucifixion for Vatican officials. Ernetti died in 1990.
Man, I'd love to see that. If I could time travel, I'd go back to meet Jesus.
4 it is, without revealing the secret of the chronovisor, but Chambers says evidence is mounting that the Catholic Church is hiding a working model from the rest of the world, supposedly to keep it from getting into evil hands. Sound crazy? Maybe. But then again, there may be something to it. Chambers says a Jesuit priest named Father Francis Brunet, I don't know if that's right, believes the chronovisor must exist because, in the priest's words, quote, Ernetti wouldn't lie about such things, end quote. Then a follow-up to that story, as follows. The Benedictine father, Marcello Pellegrini Ernetti, died in 1997, invented a method of recovering sound waves from the past and converting them into visual and acoustic reconstruction of history.
I knew that's how they done it. Somehow they zero in the voices in space, and they can link it to the chronovision.
Father Ernetti, a professor at the Venetian Benedetto Marcello Conservatory, and Foundation, I'm slaughtering all of this, I'm sure, accomplished his research in collaboration with 12 physicists who remain anonymous. In 1956, Father Ernetti began to investigate the possibility of reviewing the past with a television-like device. This clears it up a little bit, maybe. In 1957, he began collaborating with the Portuguese professor de Matos, who was researching the same problem. Ernetti's theoretical approach was based on Aristotle's concept of the disintegration of sound, according to which light and sound waves do not disappear after being produced, but are rather transformed in some way and remain present indefinitely. According to Ernetti, sound waves subdivide into harmonics and can be recovered with appropriate instruments. Ernetti stated that every human being traces from birth to death a double furrow of light and sounds. This constitutes his individual identity mark. Same applies to an event, to music, to movement.
Okay, Di, so long as there's nothing sinister behind it.
Antennas used in our laboratory and enable us to tune into these furrows of pictures or sound. Ernetti recovered photographs of events such as, it's claimed, the crucifixion of Christ, and reconstructed acoustic events such as Quintus Innis Tragedy, the original Latin from a performance in 169 BC. He also claimed to have recovered the original text of the Ten Commandments given to Moses. Oh my gosh, can you imagine that? He refused to reveal any details of his invention, and it has been thoroughly suppressed by the Italian government. Father Ernetti warned that the machine can produce universal tragedy. That should give you something to think about. So this reporter, we found this reporter, Mr. Chambers. Ron Chambers is translator and commentator of Conversations with Eternity. He has an MA in English and studied at the University of Paris. Oh, I love Paris. My wife and I love Paris. God, that's a beautiful city. His previous, the French, that's different, but Paris, huh? His previous translations include Phase 1, CEQ Manifesto. He's been a full-time instructor in English at Dawson College, Montreal, and assistant editor at McGraw-Hill Publishing, and managing editor at International Thompson Publishing, both in New York. He's written numerous articles on the paranormal. John is the publisher of New Paradigm Books, who brought out the book Father Ernetti's Chronovisor. The creation and disappearance of the world's first time machine. Let me repeat the name of that book, all right? Father Ernetti's Chronovisor, the creation and disappearance of the world's first time machine. Here is John Chambers. John, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Earl. I'm glad you found me.
Oh, I began to get these rather obscure stories about this, and I have this incredible romance with time travel, and I went, oh my God, could the Vatican, the Vatican, number one, they have a lot of secrets. They keep all kinds of things secret, John. They've got this whole area below the Vatican full of secrets, tunnels under the Vatican, and they've got the third secret of Fatima that I don't believe they've still told us the real truth about, the whole truth. They've got power. They've got telescopes, and in Arizona they went zooming by all this ecological problem that anybody else would have to get a telescope. And the Vatican is fascinating. And so when I saw this story connected to a time machine in the Vatican, it about drove me nuts. And I started to do some research, and we found you. So how did you get involved with all of this?
Kind of a long story. Let me think. Sort of as a journalist, I went up to Erich von Däniken Chariots of the Gods conference in Orlando, Florida, in 1997, just because I covered that kind of thing.
Right.
And I expected that the speakers would be, rather elderly people of von Däniken's generation. I was fascinated by the subject. Of course, I got up there, and there were a whole bunch of young, brilliant speakers. Half from America, the other half from Germany, mostly Germany and Switzerland. A fellow named Peter Krasle got up from Austria and gave a talk about Father Ernetti's Chronovisor. And Peter had just published a book on Father Ernetti's Chronovisor. And I had never heard of this before. And at that time, I was starting a publishing company, and it occurred to me that maybe I should buy the rights to this book and translate it into English. It was an astonishing subject.
Well, then it hit you exactly the way it did me. I went, oh my God, this really could be true. And if the Vatican really did have such thing, what would they do with it? You bet.
I think they've got a chronovision. There's just been too much out there about it.
Exactly.
It's tied into the Montauk chair and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly what it is said here they allegedly did.
Well, it's, Ernetti, I'm sort of repeating here what's in Peter's book, and then we did a lot of research on our own and added sections and so on. Ernetti was a Benedictine monk, Italian, very brilliant man, became an expert, very early on became an expert on what's called polyphonic music. That's music that was composed from about 2000 BC to 1000 AD. Ernetti wrote a whole mess of books on the subject, also called archaic music. He was the world authority on Gregorian chant. He held the only chair in the world on polyphonic music.
Okay, well, that all sounds like various forms of altered states to me.
Well, you've got a big point there. But the thing is, the first thing about his holding this chair, I think, is suggests that this is a considerable man. He's a very, very learned, substantial fellow.
Right.
It's a little hard to dismiss him as a flake. That's one of the things that got me very quickly. And second, yes, it's true that when you get, I understand that when you get back into ancient Greek music, you're talking music of the spheres. You're talking about vibrations passed through the ether or the astral fluid. Such was the theorizing then, and I think it stands to reason that Ernetti must have had a lot of really arcane, esoteric knowledge about sounds and very, very basic, primordial ways in which sound and sight were transmitted, as you were saying earlier.
Well, listen, even modern music.
Okay, this chronovision, they reckon the Catholic priests are going to watch Christ's crucifixion. How come they still work for Satan then? They seen Christ on the cross and all that. How come they're still working for Satan?
Even relatively modern music will put you into an altered state of sorts. So it may well be that music that old.
Well, maybe a much more profound state than we know of in our present day society.
Exactly.
It's a little bit akin to these mantras that have been so fashionable for the last few decades. These mantras that you hear repeated were supposed to have come to fakirs and yogis who've been meditating in caves for years. These mantras were delivered straight to them from God, and who knows that there's not some kind of huge truth in this.
Oh, listen, I studied Buddhism. I studied Nichiren Soku Gakkai Buddhism, and in that you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
I know, but yes.
It produces an altered state. So, I mean, there's a lot to go on here. In what way was Father Ernetti technical, or how did he get wrapped up with these physicists? In other words, when did it move, do you think, toward this chronovisor, this look back in time?
Well, for sure he had...
Good question.
For sure he knew a lot about physics. Also, he had a degree in quantum physics, subatomic physics.
He did?
Yeah, and along with having this tremendous knowledge of music.
Okay, let me stop you there. That I don't understand. How does a priest, how does a Benedictine priest get into, in other words, usually physics and hard science and the priesthood, they just don't mesh.
Well, one might think so. I would tend to agree with you, except that there's no doubt that Ernetti had this degree and did do research.
I'm with you.
So what we're talking a very, very unusual man, and all the more a guy that you can't dismiss as some kind of flake. Whatever was going on, it's very hard to just dismiss him out of hand.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
No, I know that. But generally speaking, that's what you come up against. That's what I came up against when I began to research this material. you're on the one hand, you do want to dismiss him because of some of his assertions and his claims. On the other hand, you really can't. And what has happened recently, or I guess I'm sort of maybe kind of getting far away from your last question. What has happened?
No. Just let me add here that I've interviewed a lot of the world's best scientists, and I have no problem. I pin people down. That's what I do, and I will frequently ask a theoretical physicist or a physicist or a man of science, do you believe in the God of the Bible? It's an uncomfortable question. Most of them, when really pressed, you mean the exact God of... No, I don't. I mean, that's what comes from hard science, more times than not. And that's why I said what I said. So he's a priest and a physicist. My goodness. And anyway, so...
Well, you're talking about an unusual man, that's for sure. And one thing that's happened recently is that, first of all, there was Peter Cross's book in German, and then we translated Peter's book, made a lot of changes. We had a lot of new documentation, and those were the only books there were about Renetti, except that a few years before Peter brought out his book, you mentioned this fellow earlier also, a French Jesuit priest named Francois Brune, who was a well-known journalist in France, wrote a bestseller on paranormal phenomena at one point. Father Francois Brune, I think it was 1994, wrote a book in which he had a long section on Father Renetti, and that was one of the first, books that sort of put Renetti and his achievements before the general public, although there had been lots of rumors for years about this coronavirus.
Well, one quote from him was that, in his opinion, no matter what else, Father Renetti would not have lied about this.
Yeah, the thing is that Father Francois Brune knew Renetti well. He encountered him when Brune was very young, about 23, and had been doing postgraduate, he was French, but had been doing some graduate studies in Rome, and hitchhiked up to Venice to have a look at the basilicas, and bumped into Renetti, seemingly by chance, and
yes.
They talked. Renetti told him his story, and Father Brune was, of course, totally...
Art Bell doesn't copyright. I didn't find that out till yesterday, so I can play you a lot of Art Bell stuff now. He's an interesting channel, that's for sure.
His mind was blown.
Why do you think Renetti told him the story?
I don't know. Maybe he sensed something sympathetic in Brune. I don't know.
At this point, how old was Renetti?
He was born in 1925. He would have been about 37. Yes, I think Brune was 15 years, maybe 10, 15 years younger.
So a relatively young man talking to a younger man and telling him, in essence, I guess, that he had built this machine with the help of other physicists. How long did it take in the doing? Do you know?
We don't know. I don't know anything about that, but two of the physicists that he claimed helped him were Werner von Braun, I guess it were an engineer than a physicist, and Enrico Fermi. So already that sounds improbable already. I know that, and it sounded pretty improbable.
Did he say Werner von Braun? He's the one who got the atomic bombs happening, isn't he?
To Father Brune. But the thing is, Father Brune, over the years, would go around and see Renetti, and they would chat about all manner of things, and always Francois Brune saw that Renetti was a master of many fields of knowledge. He was interesting, informed things he had to say about theology, about...
Well, do we know anything about the construction of the machine itself, how long it was in construction, anything of the nature of it at all? What do we know?
Yeah, we do.
Right?
Yeah, we do. Well, we know what Renetti said anyway, and it was something, you know the alley-oop comic strips. I think they're still around. The alley-oop was the caveman who was brought forward through our time by Dr. One Mug in a time machine.
Yeah.
But a lot of time we're seeing One Mug standing in a little booth looking into a TV screen and watching alley-oop, kind of cavorting several million years ago. And Renetti, apparently, Renetti's chronovisor was more of an apparatus that enabled him to see back and hear back through time. Maybe looking at something like a TV screen, something like earphones, but very complex, like a little bath escape. Like
This was a machine, though, that used an antenna in receiving light and sound that exist always, that once produced are always essentially there. And you can somehow tune into
How did they retrieve Christ's voice, though?
them, and that would include, I guess, anything from the present until the most distant past.
That seems to be what Ernetti claimed, yeah. You know, we used to talk a lot in both the Akashic records and so forth, and today a lot of his talking about how it is.
Look at the stuff we watch on YouTube. Imagine getting a chronovision. I'd never leave my bedroom, seriously.
It's rather quite possible, maybe even probable, that all sounds, all sound waves, all light waves, you know, kind of produced by us as we live, they are absorbed into the environment around us, and they're there to be accessed. We can figure out how to access them. And there's even a fairly well-known Nobel Prize-winning physicist, I think he's in France now, who was maybe born in Romania, who went to Greece and tried to access the memories of the columns of the Acropolis. And this is a very distinguished man. And I don't know how successful he was, but he tried to do this in some way. You know, could he kind of hear sounds, see things from ancient Greece?
All right, do you know in what way these things were manifested? I mean, what year was it again that Father Ernetti claimed he did this?
Well, this is in the mid-50s that he claimed that he did all this. Yeah.
All right, well, that was, gee whiz, television was a fledgling thing at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was. Of course, there was TV. It was certainly around. Yeah, it just started, right?
Yeah, fledgling. Yes. So I wonder if it involved any modern technology married with some technology, perhaps very ancient.
Yes, apparently that's exactly what it was. Although I don't know exactly the appropriate word here. Some kind of a combination of quantum physics and astral fluid metaphysics, something he intimated these things. He kind of, dropped hints about the guy had a degree in physics. He did a lot of experimentation, and he had this very, very, really vast knowledge of very esoteric things having to do, starting with ancient music. He wrote about 100 books in his lifetime.
100 books, all right, but still, there must have been this moment, John, when Father Ernetti had perfected to the degree that he had the chronovisor, and then he must have gone to the Vatican, and he must have started upstairs saying, look, I'm a priest, and I have invented a way to look at the past. What does the Vatican want me to do?
Well, likely he did something like that. The last maybe 10, 15 years of his life, he stopped talking about the chronovisor. And Francois Brune, in his first book, and also in a new book that's come out, he thinks that the Vatican told him to stop talking, and then told him not to tell people that the Vatican had told him to stop talking. But the thing is that one of the reasons why I got so interested is you begin to think about something. I'm sure you've thought about this for years. The implications of time travel, of course, the power that it would bestow on the possessor, and how power.
Yeah, well, this is not. Yeah, but this is not exactly the H.G. Wells type machine where you actually.
Yeah, your body's not transferring back to the past. I believe this version more than the others.
Physically go to the past. It is nevertheless a way of bringing the past or verifying the past.
Yes.
And so they went to look at the crucifixion of Christ and reportedly got visual and sound reproduction of the crucifixion of Christ. Is that what you've heard?
I know how probable that sounds. Ernetti claimed to have gone, well, I guess not seen and heard back. I guess maybe we can put it that way. And to the crucifixion and seeing Christ dying on the cross and taking a photo. And at some point, that photo sort of, he didn't release the photo himself. At some point, it kind of got out. The press got a hold of it.
Where is that photo?
It's we reproduced it in our book.
What?
Yeah.
You reproduced the exact photo?
Yes, we did.
You have that photograph?
Sure. I should.
Oh, John.
I better add that after a while, it seemed that this was a fraud. It was found that this photo of the face of Christ was a photo of Christ.
I saw the one of Christ talking to Nicodemus, they claimed. I saw that photo.
On a wooden cross, carved on a wooden cross in a small church in central Italy. So it looked like fraud. And so Father Brune, Francois Brune, of course, who would see René periodically put it to him and said, couldn't believe that this very accomplished man would have to do something fraudulent. Put it to him and said, what happened? And René had an explanation for it, a very kind of ingenuous explanation that René claimed that the I don't know if I get the details right. It's in our book. René claimed that the wooden statue, the carving, the artist who did it had been inspired by a nun who had mystical visions, and it had the mystical visions of the crucifixion of Christ. So René kind of said, well, his vision, what he carved was the result of inspiration because of a vision from somebody who herself also had the ability to go back and see.
He allegedly, nevertheless, photographed the crucifixion of Christ, but that wasn't all they allegedly did with it, is it?
He claimed to have gone a little farther back to Rome in 169 BC, as I think you read earlier, and to have watched a tragedy, a play that we don't, that's lost to antiquity, but we know that it's called Thyestes by a guy named Quintus Ennius, and Bernetti claimed to have, I guess, jotted down a bunch of the dialogue of this play, and to have come back or to have retrieved using his chronovisor a fragment of this play.
As proof, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and we were very fortunate. I made contact with Francois Brune while we were putting the book together, and he was good enough to send me the fragment, a copy of the fragment in Latin. Of course, we got a Princeton professor, PhD in classics, to translate it for us and to write commentary. That's in our book too. It's really extremely interesting.
Okay, and your book again is called Father Ernetti's Chronovisor: The Creation and Disappearance of the World's First Time Machine.
And I don't know what to say. Also, I'd like to add one thing before I forget, and that is that he claimed at one point that they saw a little bit into the future, just far enough to see a bank robbery taking place.
That was going to be my next question. Could it go to the future?
Yeah, well, apparently he says that once they did look a little bit into the future, a bank robbery taking place, and were able to call the police in the present and have it prevented, which just kind of reminds you a bit of this new movie with Tom Cruise, Minority Report.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. That's the, and of course, I didn't see all that movie, just part of it, but there you see that this ability that these police have to look a little bit into the future and arrest people for murder before they murder, that ability has corrupted the police force absolutely, and that power has corrupted them. And perhaps I think Francois Brune feels that perhaps the Vatican is holding something, maybe not the coronavirus, but maybe the plans for it, because they're afraid people will be corrupted by it.
All right, that may well be, but let's, for a second, imagine the Vatican actually has a photograph of the crucifixion. Now, if they really have that, I guess I'm trying to imagine why they would suppress it, because it would give so many people religion. But the answer must be that in order to release that, they would have to release, I suppose, the total information on how they got it, wouldn't they?
Well, they also might be afraid that something like a chronovisor would prove that the kind of standard Catholic, standard Catholic version of what took place was not quite true. I think they may be a little afraid that they've distorted things, have been distorted through the centuries, and yet they, of course, pass down, give us so much as black and white doctrine.
Okay, well, Father Ernetti warned that, and I'm quoting here, the machine can produce universal tragedy. What do you imagine he might have meant by that?
I think he really think he meant that bad guys could get a hold of such a machine and run the world and ruin the world. I think he meant that, and it seems to me that's a real probability. That's one of the things that makes this story, the Ernetti story, kind of, I won't say convincing, but
Gives
makes me think a lot about it.
Okay, well, so then the ability to look into the past or look into the future, surely that could easily be used, particularly a glance into the future, to affect world events, and that almost gets us to the big problem with all time travel. And
the past, maybe.
Well, if you were to even you always worry about altering the past, but if you were to alter the future, there could be equally dire consequences, one might imagine, for doing such a thing, for changing the future.
Well, I think so. I'm no expert. I know you've been in touch with another German author named Ernest Meckelberg, who's done a number of books on time travel. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to translate any, but he once said to me something like, maybe some of the events that are taking place now have been kind of engineered from the future, that it wasn't supposed to be this way. And, that the implications are...
Well, I just got a quick call from Richard C. Hoagland at the top of the hour. He said, "Oh my God, this is fascinating. Did you know that Wernher von Braun worked with the French allegedly worked with the French on anti-gravity?"
So, no, I didn't know that.
So if that's true, then it might not be so wild that if von Braun got information that there was something like this in the works, he might well have joined in. It may not be so wild.
No, of course, we researched this a lot, and as I said, we made lots of changes, we added a lot of new materials. So our book's, significantly different from Peter's, which was a wonderful book anyway. But it seemed to us that Wernher von Braun just couldn't have been around at the time, or anywhere nearby at the time Ernetti was building the machine. But one doesn't know, of course, how much has changed and suppressed. Ernetti says that somebody else who helped him was Enrico Fermi, and he did know Enrico Fermi. We know that for sure. So it's a vast, mind-boggling mystery. Finally,
and you believe that the Vatican would imagine this to fall into the wrong hands?
I don't know what to believe, Art. I know that.
What could you do with it in the wrong hands? What could you do with it?
Francois Brun, he brought out a new book in February. In a French publisher, it's called in English "The Vatican's New Mystery," and he again covers this, this Ernetti territory that he covered first of all in '94 in another book, and he's read our book. Of course, I know him, an excellent person, and he takes issue with some of the points that we raised. For example, our translator, our classics. Princeton Classics professor, translator of the Ernetti fragment from the past.
Yes.
She thought that maybe this was not genuine, that Ernetti could have put it together. And she had offered certain proofs, but certain bits of evidence to suggest, she very mildly suggests that.
All right. In other words, to say that Ernetti lied about all of this is what that would be saying.
Well, she suggested that.
But wait a minute here. We've got a priest. First of all, he's a priest, and I don't expect him to lie, but get past that. Then we've got a priest claiming that he's got this machine that can look into the past, or even the future for that matter, and a priest who is acquainted with quantum subatomic physics, a priest who has knowledge that most priests would never have in the hard sciences. And this doesn't sound like a joker of a man to me. It doesn't sound like a prankster of a man to me. Does it to you?
No, and what you've just said is really kind of exactly the position that Francois Brun takes in his latest book, vis-a-vis some of these really mild comments of our excellent translator. He says this is not so. This fragment of Latin is, of course, Ernetti was also a great scholar of Latin. Of course, all monks know Latin still in Europe, particularly. A great scholar of Latin, and he could be argued maybe he had the knowledge to put it together. But Father Brun says, who's also an excellent scholar in Latin, says, no, this is too complex, this piece, this fragment. Father Broun wouldn't have done it and couldn't have done it. It's too hard to do. So that's a lot of issues coming here. So what you just said is what Father Broun would have said vis-a-vis her remarks.
Now, the Catholic Church, the Vatican, a big part of Catholicism, every religion really, is faith. It's faith.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if having actual proof of the crucifixion, even if it was exactly as we have read in the Bible, having real hardcore proof of that might remove that faith part. In some way, the Catholic Church would not want it removed.
That's a terrific point. I mean, I hadn't thought of that. That's a terrific point. What's the standard, the famous definition of faith? It has to do with the things unseen and things unheard, and
Well, they've released the Shroud of Turin, so they don't mind that.
Yeah, proof or disproof have nothing to do with faith, and so if you have
it's
proof,
belief in something you can't prove.
Right. So no, you're absolutely right in what you said.
So that would be something you suddenly could prove. And then there's the other possibility, and that is that they filmed or they got pictures of the crucifixion and somehow it was not as described in the Bible or in some way, a worrying way, different. Did they describe, other than the photograph, which you've already talked about, did they describe anything that would have clashed with what we know biblically?
Good question.
And he did describe to Broun, and we have it in our book way back in '62 what he saw, and it doesn't differ very much from the standard version of the Bible in the New Testament. Little bits and pieces here and there. Christ didn't say something that he's supposed to have said, and did say something that was not recorded. What Ernetti said about the crucifixion, and just very small deviations, but again, you're looking at it's so complex, really. You're looking at a priest who's loyal to the Catholic Church, who has faith,
money, Mum. What do you expect me to do?
Not going to say.
Is it also true that he claimed to have recovered the original text of the Ten Commandments given to Moses? I mean, you can imagine this Kodak moment, when Moses is holding the still smoldering tablets with the Ten Commandments on them. Is that essentially what they claimed?
Well, I think that's in Peter's book. We didn't put that. Sometimes when things seemed a bit improbable, we didn't put that in. Maybe we should have. Of course, there's so much to say about it. That's the thing. I think I did hear that, but that's not anything Ernetti dwells on. Mostly he talks about. He talks about the crucifixion. He talks about this play that we don't have anymore. And
the bank robbery, the future.
Yeah, he talks about the bank robbery.
Now, here's an interesting question for you. If you were to be able to see a bank robbery that was going to occur, get to the police, prevent the bank robbery, you might, in that process, for example, prevent somebody from taking a bullet through the between the eyes, who otherwise would have taken a bullet. Now somebody is not dying who, in the scheme of things, was supposed to die. People imagine only problems with changing the past, but I imagine the same problems inherent in changing the future. In other words, if somebody lives, produce offspring, or become president, or
bugger that, tell us what you saw in the future.
Blow up the world, or whatever the lesser thing they might do in their life, but they live instead of die, then you might have the same paradox problem you've got with travel to the past.
Oh, I would agree. I think that there's all kinds of many people say there are all sorts of problems with time travel. Maybe it's possible, but there may be all sort of overwhelming and an overwhelmingly large number of reasons why we should never do it.
Which is again why, even if this man, who I'm leaning toward. I mean, here we've got a physicist who consulted with how many other physicists in the world?
He claimed about 12, and we don't know very much about that really. You mentioned you read something from another article. That was the Portuguese. I'm not sure. Another physicist. And we know he had something to do with him, but we don't know very much about that.